Hello, I'm Jim Roberts. I'm the host of Senior Living in Alexandria. We're here in the August 2015 session, and it's hot outside but cool indoors. We're here for another session of information for seniors, their families, and friends. And our goal is to try to help you be informed on the issues that affect seniors. I have a particularly good guest this evening, today, and this is Laurie Blackburn of the Speck Cauldron firm in Alexandria. And Laurie, I'm pleased as can be that you're here and can join us. We're going to talk about something very important, retirement planning. Retirement planning and how it affects you, but also how people can do that on behalf of their family and friends. I have to give a momentary disclosure. I am a client of Speck Cauldron, have been for many years, and I'm pleased that I'm able to have this conversation with Laurie, but pleased also that I'm a client. So I feel I should.
Although we haven't met before.
Well, of course
it's nice
not.
to have this opportunity.
But I want to say how I personally think retirement planning is important. But our goal tonight is to get that information out for the viewers that might benefit from that. So Laurie, without further ado, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in retirement planning, a little bit about Speck Cauldron. How did you wind up in that firm and working on retirement planning?
Well, Jim, I'm actually a licensed attorney. I practiced law for several years and then transferred into financial services about 20 years ago. I've worked at a couple of firms in town, and I joined Speck Cauldron in 2012, which was a wonderful opportunity. In our office we have 4 advisors and we have 6 client associates. Nobody has done this less than about 20 years, so we're all in the 20 to 30 year range and have seen a variety of markets and aren't surprised at what things get thrown our way. We manage probably over $1 billion, and our orientation is around planning. So there's retirement investing, but it's retirement income planning, and the goal is to find out what the client wants and make sure that they can do that and not outlive their money. So it's kind of that simple.
It seems apparent, but help explain, what do you mean the difference between retirement income and retirement investment?
Well, you spend most of your career thinking about retirement, planning for retirement. Once you're retired, you need to think about that retirement income. How is that going to come out? How much is going to come out? For how long do you need to plan? In what way do you need to handle your investments so that they are set up for adequate, timely income?
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the firm. What's the history or background or specialization of Speck Cauldron?
Well, we are with Wells Fargo Advisors, but we are a separate team off in our own office, and we kind of do more of managing the way our practice works. And like I said, there's 4 advisors with between 20 and 30 years experience, and then we have 6 client associates, 3 of whom are also licensed to do many of the things that we do. So it's important that we know that clients can always find somebody that can answer their questions and speak with them. And of course, David Speck is the chief partner with Speck Cauldron Investments, and he grew up in Alexandria and knows everybody in town and has had a lot of community involvement. And David and Tristan Cauldron have been working together over 10 years, and then I've been there a couple of years since 2012. Matt McGarry joined us a couple of years after that. But what makes the good team is that we all have the same orientation towards client service, planning orientation, and frankly, involvement in the community. I mean, this is our home, and it's important to us.
Well, as a personal beneficiary of your services, I underwrite that.
We have a lot of people who retire but don't fully retire. So they will do the similar job but 3 days a week. I have some clients who will do consulting 3 to 4 months a year, and then the rest of the year they'll be off visiting family or traveling overseas or whatever. So some people continue to work full time, but in something that's more of a passion than what their career was. Work for a foundation, make a lot less money, but that's kind of what they've always wanted to do. So there's a lot of different ways to do retirement besides, going fishing full time. We have a lot of clients who stay in town, have different kind of plans for how they're going to live their life, whether it's a continuing care facility or stay in their home and find ways to stay in their home. we have a lot of clients who move out of the area and either move closer to family, or they may move to somewhere where the cost of living is lower. So there's a wide variety of options and things that, when you're planning, you need to take all these options into consideration.
There are changes that affect retirement in terms of federal policy, Social Security, 401k plans, et cetera, that are kind of the fundamentals of a retirement plan. How do you anticipate, or are you able, do you have a crystal ball that the rest of us don't?
I do. No.
Well, good. That's
really
wonderful
don't.
news. Stay tuned for our next session.
We'll bring out the crystal ball.
How do you plan in that kind of changing environment?
There's some pieces of that that are very difficult to plan for, and what I tell clients is we don't have a crystal ball. So based on the information we have now, what are the highest probability, wisest choices we can make? Mm-hmm. And then usually when you proceed down a reasonable path, you're going to get most of what you need to get. So for example, we are not among the crowd that says Social Security won't exist. Right. We don't know what it will look like in 20 years. We don't know if there's different kinds of adjustments to the level of income or retirement ages or taxation. We don't know those things. And I think any of those things are possible, and we just try to keep as informed on that as possible. But I don't think that it would be accurate to look at really drastic changes. We all live in D.C. It's a company town, and we know that in order for drastic changes to happen, there's got to be political will for that to happen. And I don't think things like drastic cutbacks in Social Security are especially likely.
Well,
but the changes
we'll
will happen.
Who knows?
Changes
well,
will
and if you, our seniors
Mm-hmm.
have a time span, and the changes are, I agree, within that time period are unlikely. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the issues that comes up is if you're, say, more middle-aged, not a senior, or even young person just starting out. I think it'd be very hard to plan.
I think that's true. I think with any kind of investments or planning for policy changes, the longer the time period, the harder it is to plan with any kind of confidence in the result that you're looking for.
No.
So people who are currently retired probably won't see a lot in the way of changes. People who are in their 40s and 50s now will almost certainly see something change. We don't know exactly what that will be. And again, the younger you are, the harder it is to foresee what would happen, but that's why it's good to start saving at a very young age.
One of the things I think that it becomes necessary is that you all have to stay at the state of the art, whatever that is, and anticipate those changes on behalf of your clients. How as a staff or as a professionals, how do you do that?
Well, we always have continuing education, and there's various forms of it. Some is required by our firm, some is required by, I'm a certified financial planner, Tristan, and we have other additional educational requirements. There are other licensing requirements, and then there are things that we go to because there are areas that we think we're going to see changes in the next couple of years, and we want to be ahead of the game there.
Okay. We're going to have to hold that thought. We're going to have to go to a break right now. We're going to have a discussion of a new feature of senior services, and that'll be a book club that they're forming. So we're going to hear a little bit about that. We'll come back, and I want to hear from you how you work with a client. How does that work,
okay.
and what kinds of relationships do you have? So we'll be right back.
Great.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Alex Garcia, and I'm the newest member to the Senior Services of Alexandria team. I've started off as the program coordinator for Meals on Wheels, and now we've decided to do a segment on the Book of the Month Club. So today I have for you Liar, Temptress, Soldier, Spy, which is written by Karen Abbott. She wrote it and was published in September of 2014. It tells the story of 4 brave women during the Civil War who became spies. There's Belle Boyd, who became a courier and spy after she shot a man in her hotel lobby. Then there's Emma Edmonds, who cut off her hair and became a man or portrayed herself as a man to be able to enlist in the Union Army. And then there's Rose O'Neill, who engaged in affairs with powerful Northern generals to seduce them and get their secrets. Finally, there is Elizabeth Van Lew, a wealthy Richmond abolitionist, who hid behind her Southern charm to begin an espionage ring that went all the way around the South. Here's a review that was written in the Washington Post that I found was really interesting. Karen Abbott writes, "War, like politics, was men's work, and women were supposed to be among the victims, not the perpetrators. Women's loyalty was assumed regarded as a prime attribute of femininity itself. But now there is a question, one that would persist throughout the war, of what do we do with these fashionable women spies, as one Lincoln official called it. Their gender provided them with both a psychological and physical disguise, and they hid behind their social mores of women's proper roles, and they could hide evidence on their physical selves, so in their hair or under their big skirts. Women, it seemed, were capable not only of significant acts of treason, but of executing them more deftly than men." So next month in September on Senior Living in Alexandria, I'll have read the book by then, and we can discuss favorite excerpts or any questions that you might have. Please email me at admin@seniorservicesalex.org with anything we would like to discuss for next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hi, I'm Mary Lee Anderson, and I'm Executive Director of Senior Services of Alexandria. I'm here to tell you about what fun things are happening in the city of Alexandria during the month of August. One of the things that I didn't know about that I think might be really fun to do is at Market Square during the Farmers Market Saturday morning on August the 29th, the master cooking people are going to be there doing cooking demonstrations when you can use the produce and the products that you buy at the market, and they'll give you all kinds of wonderful ideas how to cook with it. That's, as I said, on August the 29th at 10 o'clock in the morning at Market Square, so maybe I'll see you there. Another thing that's happening in August on the 15th is a terrific free concert by the United States Marine Chamber Orchestra. They're going to be performing that evening at 7:30 over at Nova Community College at Schlesinger Hall, just off of Beauregard Avenue. It's a free concert. They are a wonderful chamber ensemble, so I would encourage you to go over there. There's no tickets required. You just show up and you can see a terrific professional caliber concert for free. It's part of their summer concert series, so you might want to take a look at their website to find out about more concerts that'll be happening in the month of August. A very exciting new program that SSA is offering with the City of Alexandria is the new Senior Academy. This is going to be a 4-week program that we offer during the month of September, beginning Wednesday, September 9th, and then subsequent Wednesdays thereafter. Each week we'll be going to a different location around town, City Hall, the library, the police headquarters, and hearing from top-level city officials about how their departments work and what they do specifically for seniors. You'll also hear from local nonprofits who serve seniors. The idea is that after 4 of these sessions, you will come out knowing how your city works, understanding better how you can get involved, and also what services you should be taking advantage of as a senior in Alexandria. You can find out more and register by going to our website, www.seniorservicesalex.org, or calling our office at 703-836-4414. Registration is limited to city residents 60 years and older, and we're only accepting 25 people in this first class. So please be sure to give us a call and get registered for it before the deadline on August the 14th. We also want you to know about the Young at Art exhibit, which will be opening up at the end of August. We'll be accepting submissions of artwork on August the 20th. That's a Thursday. It's the only time that you can submit the artwork. You need to go over to the Durant Center on Cameron Street between 10 and noon, and you can submit your up to as many pieces of art that you want, but you get 3 art submissions for just $20, and then they will be reviewed by a professional artist and either admitted or not into the exhibit, depending on her judgment. And then the exhibit will be running through November. So it's a wonderful way for all kinds of artists. You can work in watercolor, oils, digital photography, sculpture, you name it. We've had it in the Young at Art show. And that's a program that's jointly sponsored with Senior Services of Alexandria, Goodwin House Foundation, and the City of Alexandria. You can find out more on our website, and I'm sure we'll put the information on the screen below. Finally, we have a little save the date for you. In October is the 5th annual Senior Law Day. I can hardly believe we're already doing this for 5 years. We do that in conjunction with the Alexandria Bar Association. This year we'll have lawyers and financial experts talking about family law issues and how important it is to plan early and regularly. That is on Saturday, October the 15th, I believe. And it will be at the First Baptist Church on King Street. You can find out more on our website. And I look forward to seeing you at one or more of these fun activities over the coming months. Thanks very much.
We're back, and we're talking about retirement planning with Laurie Blackburn of the Speck Codron firm. And Laurie, when we went to break, I was just about to ask you, what do people look for in a financial planner?
Well, Jim, that's an interesting process, and it's not just one event. It really is a whole process, and I think it's different at different times of your life and at different stages of your financial life. So, what I try to tell clients is that there's a part of it that is about competence, education, and just generally how your business is run. There's another part of it though that's much more intangible, and it's the relationship between you and the advisor. So I may be the smartest advisor in a 6-state area, but if you don't feel comfortable calling me on the phone and asking me a question without being intimidated or nervous, then I'm not the advisor for you. So you do need the basic competence, the skills, the licenses.
We had talked before break about the training you have to maintain,
right,
and the expectation on the part of the client that you've got that training,
exactly,
that you're current and are bringing the best current knowledge to it. So that's a minimum threshold.
Absolutely.
You
right.
have to be professionally competent and knowledgeable and maintain that knowledge. And in addition,
there has to be a comfort level between you and the advisor. If you go to someone who's been recommended by a friend of yours who just speaks in a totally different language than how you understand information, then you're not always going to be comfortable with what exactly is going on in my financial life. Am I hitting the marks that I need to hit, because you're not connecting, or somebody might want to just give you the broad brush strokes and you want to get a little more specific, or they get way too specific and you just want the broad brush. So there's a lot of pieces of that.
So I vaguely think I ought to do retirement planning, and I've delayed it and I've procrastinated, and now all of a sudden the years begin to creep up, and my friend says, well, you really need to do retirement planning. And they say, I've got a firm I'd like to recommend. You ought to talk to these people. So I give a call. What's the typical progression of how do you do an initial intake? How do you do a portfolio plan? How do you maintain that relationship? How often do you meet? Or is it necessary?
Right.
What are the types of milestones that you might have in a typical client relationship?
Well, I think as the advisor, you need to make sure you're kind of getting a sense of where this person is and ask the right questions. Some people are very reticent to give information because they're nervous and they don't. They may feel it's intrusive for you to ask a lot of questions. So you have to pick up on that so they don't feel like you're rushing at them.
That would do no good if they don't
exactly.
share.
And some people get on the phone the first time and they've got their numbers, and you just better get a pen and write them down. But there does need to be more than one conversation. Oftentimes I will start on the phone because they've called in to ask questions, so I'll ask a lot of background questions. Where have you been? What have you been doing? What is your main concern now? And then maybe ask some specific financial questions. After I kind of get the general picture, then I'll say, well, let's talk about what you have saved, what savings plans you're involved in now. Talk to me about your mortgage, talk to me about your debt. Who do you need to provide for? What are your plans for later in retirement? What are your medical issues? I mean, it can go into a lot of things.
Pretty extensive background.
It really can. It can go into, taking notes on all of that so that I can refer back to it later. And a lot of times you will take the planning one piece at a time. There's a major piece that needs to be done now, which is the reason they called you.
Right.
But you want to know some of the other information, and you will touch on that again later. As far as meeting goes, some people you have to hog time to get them to meet with you once a year. Other people would like to meet with you quarterly. So it's important to us that we are able to have some kind of contact. If you just want to meet once a year and talk by phone, as long as we get to ask questions and feel like we're updated enough to give good recommendations, that's good. Other people want to talk more often.
When you do a plan, then you gather this information, you put together a plan. We recommend these types of investments. These would be less risky, more risky. This is appropriate for you. What are your income needs out of that? So you craft that uniquely for each person?
Actually, the step before that, investments are a really important part of this process.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, but the step before that is just as important, if not more so. And there are many ways to do investments that will meet the need. But I got to make sure I know exactly what the need is. So it's going to be, when do you want to retire? What do you live on now, and how much of that income do you need to replace? How do you feel about risk? How did you feel in 2008 when your statement went down by a third or a half? How did you weather that? How aggressively do you want to invest now? What are we actually trying to provide for? What are your estate needs? So there's at least 4 factors there that I talk to you, I try to find out which of those factors is more important. Is it more important to you to retire earlier or to retire with more money? Is it more important to you to invest more conservatively or invest more aggressively because you want to leave a larger estate? And then I kind of work with the plan according to what I heard you say about what's important to you. Then we meet and talk about that. And you tell me if I hit the mark, if I misunderstood something you said, or you've changed your mind and you really do want to work a little bit longer and have more income for retirement. And that just keeps developing on an ongoing basis. That's the part that we review all the time, where you are. And then the investments come.
Okay. Do you get, I assume husband and wife would come together for a plan, although that, I guess you couldn't assume that. Do children, other family members get involved, or does this verge into estate planning and as a key component of that?
Right, so there's all kinds of different configurations. There are, obviously single people, because they're widowed or divorced, they certainly come. Married couples come together. Some married couples come separately, not because there's any particular problem, but their styles are completely differently and they want to do this differently. So you need to be ready for all those. As time goes by, we're having more and more situations where either because we think it's important or the client thinks it's important, we do want to have some family involvement. Sometimes there is, quite a large estate that's going to be in the future, and the parents want to make sure that their kids are getting enough financial education or familiarity that they can feel comfortable that that's not going to be a problem for them to manage in the future. I like to know different family members, because if my clients are aging and later on they have medical problems or there are needs that arise, I want to know who is going to be making decisions for them, helping them out, and who they want me to call if I see a need. And I've already gotten permission for them to do that. Also, we don't do estate planning, but I highly recommend estate planning because we have client situations with planning and without planning. And I can tell you what a difference that can make, to have the plan in place before things happen. That way you've had time to really consider what it is you want to have happen instead of people making decisions on the fly.
What happens if in the midst, these are trust relationships.
Absolutely.
And on the basis of long history and maintaining current knowledge of your client's situation, being sensitive to that, what happens if you discern that maybe there's something wrong? They aren't doing a good job, or maybe there's something, the way that the spending patterns, maybe they're getting poor advice from other advisors or whatever. How do you deal with that as a professional?
Well, there's a number of things that can happen. And the reason that, if the family relationships permit, I would like to know your kids now and have met them and understand what that relationship is like and to what degree you plan on counting on their support, and have your permission to talk with them when that time comes. Because sometimes when you're the outside party, there have been times when we have been the ones to discover there's some kind of change in cognitive ability, and the family may not see that right away. There is some kind of change in spending patterns. We have to do training on elder abuse so that we can spot if something has changed, and there's someone, either often a caretaker outside of the family, someone within the family who's exercising undue influence. Because you can get a call where somebody says, liquidate my portfolio and there's somebody talking in the background. This is not what this person has been like for the last 15 years that you've known them. So what do you do in that circumstance? And what have you been instructed to do based on your long-term relationship, which is, the older you get, that's why having somebody involved with your financial life, I believe, becomes more important.
What's the right age to start retirement planning?
Oh, late 20s. Really as early as possible.
Right.
What I encourage people to do, and people should give this advice to their kids and grandkids, do start with something early. It doesn't even matter what it is, but it's developing the habit of saving. And then the second habit you develop is that every year you raise that by a couple percent so that you're developing the habit of increasing your savings level. Mm-hmm. Developing the discipline of knowing that retirement money is not there for an emergency unless somebody's in terrible medical trouble or about to be evicted. Other than that, that money's not available for weddings. It's not available for any other purpose than your retirement. So it's the discipline of not, well, it's only a $10,000 401k. I'll just take it out, and because I can use it for some purchase that I wanted to make.
We're running out of time, but I'm tempted to ask one last question.
Okay.
That is, my sense is that you personally enjoy the people part of this as much as you do the professionalism. Is that?
I love it, and it's important to me. And so, like again, I said there are times when, in both good and sad circumstances, we're an early call, and I take that responsibility very seriously, and we all do. If you're going to be part of people's lives, then you need to take that seriously and do a good job.
I think that explains how you hunt for a good financial planner. Laurie, we're out of time, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I hope our viewers get a lot of information on this and the importance of retirement planning.
Thank you.
Very,
I enjoyed
very
coming,
much.
talking
Thank
with
you
you.
very much.